Hello and welcome. The goal of this podcast is to get listeners connected with others in the sports industry because they say it's all about who you know, and now you know us. All right. Hey, everybody, this is your host, Connor Shank, and you're listening to the Constant Sports Podcast, the podcast that is committed to connecting you with other sports professionals because they say it's all about who you know. And today, Johnny. Thanks for joining us today, Johnny.
Yeah, glad to be here, Connor. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So for the viewers and listeners out there, Johnny, he's held positions with the Arizona Coyotes, the Arizona Cardinals, the Society LLC, the Phoenix Mercury, and a few of the more, relevant, newer positions. Those are a little bit older, but he's got some newer positions that we'll keep secret until we dive in later to the episode. We're looking forward to it. And Johnny's here. He's a Phoenix area native, so for all those ASU SOB alum, Forks Up. We got another one here on the podcast today. So, what have you been up to, Johnny? What's keeping you busy these days?
Nothing much, man. Just taking it easy, preparing for 4th of July. Just looking forward to the holiday. Taking it easy. What about you?
Right. Yeah, same thing. I got 4th of July is coming up. Trying to stay out of the heat. It's 113 today. I'm not super into that. So
Dude,
trying,
it's been crazy. It's gonna be like that for like the next week,
I know. So,
like
yeah,
110 and above.
we're gonna have to stay inside, and stay out of the heat.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to one of the first points I wanted to touch on is you're working remotely for the company Air. So I'm not too familiar with that company or what it is, but if you want to kind of shed some light on that, and since you're working remote, I figure you can just pop on the AC and get to work. Kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice. It's my first remote job or remote role. And I've been able to like learn what works and what doesn't when you're working remote because it's very different than when you're in office or like at a game. So,
Right.
but yeah, what Air is it's Michael Jordan's son, Jeffrey Jordan's startup. Revolves around NBA players, specifically like their highlights and stats. And what it's meant to do is bring the fan closer to the athlete. So I've been working with Air for all of 2023 now. And right now, I just serve as a marketing coordinator for them, specifically focusing on like social media partnerships. I started out as a brand ambassador. I was the head brand ambassador for Air back in December. I was doing that for like 2 months and then ended up becoming the brand ambassador manager. So I was managing about 10 of us, just local ASU students, testing out the app and seeing what works, what doesn't, getting insights from them because it's Gen Z focused, right? So
Mhm.
we wanted to see and hear like what the Gen Z people thought. And
Right.
we made changes to Air, as all the way until app launch. And right now, working as a marketing coordinator for them. So that usually revolves around social media partnerships and trying to find people on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, see who's in the space and what brand really aligns with ours. If they're like the same goal, same mission, stuff like that. And with Air, we want to build like long lasting, genuine relationships, right? Like not just one offs.
Right.
And we want to find influencers that like align with our brand, and allow them to tell their story, but incorporate Air into like with in an organic way, I'd say.
Right. Yeah, make it a two-way street. So it's beneficial for them and Air as well. So did you just was it like a resume? Did you just send it in? Did you DM? How'd you kind of get the
Yeah.
first role?
So yeah, I mean, funny story with Air. So my mentor, Brian Davison, he's the VP of partnerships for Air right now.
Mhm.
He worked at Nike for 10 plus years. And then he was the VP of basketball development for the Milwaukee Bucks when they won the championship. So I got connected with him through Sports Business Scholars, which is a club at ASU. It's the top 20 sports business students at WP Carey. And one of the cool things that they do is that they pair you up with an executive mentor in the sports industry, just to help you with, resume building, your LinkedIn profile, just, like connections,
All
stuff
that
like
stuff.
that.
Yep.
So he really took it a step further and was like, hey, I can need you or I can use
Yeah.
you for Air, And I was like, yeah, well, tell me what you need to do. I'll do it. So, been building out that relationship with him since like October, and he's grown to me like he's so much more than just a mentor now.
Hmm.
He's a genuine friend and somebody that cares about my career, and wants to take it a step further. So I can't be more thankful for Brian. And he's been great. He's also the founder of Sports Business Ventures, which I know we'll touch on a little bit later.
Yeah. I guess yeah, we'll just segue into that. So I know it's kind of popped up on my radar. I guess in the
Mhm.
past, I don't know, month. I might be late on that, but 3-4 weeks or so. And yeah, like you said, sports business venture. So it seems like it's kind of just he posts about internships, jobs, kind of connecting within the sports sector. Is that kind of am I over the target there?
Yeah, you're in the right ballpark with that. I mean, what SBV is, I mean, it's a platform that gives guidance, insights, resources to help, younger generations like us break
Mhm.
into and like advance their way in the sports industry. So what that looks like is basically a newsletter, and Brian has a vast array of just people that he's met throughout his time in sports, and they all have great stories. I mean, he's friends with the GM of the Dallas Mavericks and the director of basketball for Duke, and the list goes on.
Right.
And what he does with the newsletter is he interviews them, kind of like what we're doing now,
Mhm.
and he adds like the big talking points with what like he interviewed them with, and just gives a list of all the relevant job openings within sports, like relative to our generation. So
Got it.
it's really to get a leg up in the sports industry, and I love the vision, I love the idea, and I mean he's my guy, so I'll do I'll basically do whatever he says. When he
Yeah,
says,
I'm with you.
when he tells me to jump, I ask how high. So
Right. Yeah, no, it's everyone kind of needs a mentor, but then I feel like, as you touched on previously, the mentor is more than just like, and I feel like it's always like an older person, right? That just like, hey, do this. But kind of when it flips and it's like, okay, this person's my friend, it's more than a mentor, right? Kind of takes it to the next level. And I feel like that's what when people are looking for, mentors, that's something that they should look for, right? It's not just a transactional, you know, you
for
give me
sure.
this, I give you that.
Yeah, because when it grows beyond just being transactional, you really get to know the person, and you
Right.
get to want to work with them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
When you can connect with the person and really know what makes them tick,
Yep.
that'll make them work harder,
Yep.
and you'll actually want to work for them instead of being like, oh, damn, he's calling me again.
Yeah.
Um, those are the relationships that I've seen don't work in sports. And one of the valuable lessons that Brian's taught me.
For sure. And so you're a contributor of sorts. Are you doing like blogs? What kind of role, I guess, are you doing over there?
Yeah, I mean, mainly I'm doing research for him, whatever he needs. I mean, it's a very new idea.
Hmm.
So if he needs like examples of what newsletters look like, I'm
Right.
researching, what works and what doesn't. And right now, since they just launched the first edition a few weeks ago, we're really trying to drive just drive awareness in
Hmm.
the sports industry,
Right.
and that's through LinkedIn mainly. So I do a lot of research with that and see. I was president of the Sports Business Association at ASU. It's a sports business club that basically gets students into the sports industry.
Hmm.
So we were trying to find people or find clubs that were in the U.S. that were similar to SBA, like where are the SBAs across the country,
Uh-huh.
and we were able to find them. And I'm right now I'm just trying to build a relationship with those people, and telling them like, hey, this is a really cool tool that you can be using. It's new, and it's just here to help. So it's been going good so far.
Right. Yeah, no, and let's get into the SBA a little bit. So, how long, I guess, is it like a 4-year program? Can you get in, join whenever with the SBA? Is it just kind of come as you come and go, or kind of what's that process look like for the, people?
Yeah, I mean, so Sports Business Association, it's different from SBS, from what I was talking about earlier.
Hmm.
So Sports Business Association is one of the largest clubs on campus in WP Carey, and what it is, it basically gets students the tools and resources they need to get into sports. And I joined my junior year. I was just a member for a few months, and I was really active. And our advisor, Alana, who was another mentor of mine, she was amazing. She knows everybody, and she's just a great contact to have. But anyway, she told me, she was like, "Hey, do you want to help us with the symposium?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what is that?" And she told me what it was, and it was a series of panels that were relevant to the sports industry at that time, as well as a keynote. So she asked me to serve as the VP of outreach. So she granted me an exec board position, and I helped put on the symposium with my buddy Bryce Campbell. He now works in Colorado, but yeah, put that on. It was really successful, and after that, she was like, "I think you'd make a really good president." I'm like, "Okay, great." So I hit that pretty hard, and luckily I got the presidency role, and I was president from April of 22 to when I graduated in May of 23. So
Mhm.
Sports Business Association has been the reason why I'm in sports. And before that, I was in a fraternity. I didn't really take my major too seriously. And when my junior year rolled around and when like classes started to come back from COVID, and
Right.
I had no idea what even my major could entail, you know.
Yeah.
So Sports Business Association really gave me what I needed to figure out what that is. And they gave me my start, which I'm like forever grateful for.
Yeah, no, yeah, it sounds awesome. I think there's a lot of, especially in the undergrad kind of realm, a lot of programs at the schools like that people, might not know about, and then they just kind of look it up and go, "Hey, look at this! It's a sports business club or sports, marketing club or whatever." And I think those are pretty, you should probably join those if kind of sports might be your thing, because then there's
Yeah,
kids, a few
definitely.
years older than you, like yourself, if you go in as a sophomore, junior, whatever, there's probably a senior sitting there that's like, yeah, this is how it works, and there's
Yeah.
usually mentors or alumni, something attached to the club. So, great way to get started if you're in the undergrad realm, trying to figure out what you want to do with your life.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I guess I'm just looking at some of the jobs and whatnot you've had in the past. So it seems like you're pretty connected to the Arizona job market with the Cardinals, Coyotes, the Society LLC. That's golf, right? And
Uh, there is a golf division.
okay.
So my boss, John Van Dyke,
Hmm.
met him through SBA as well at a career fair. That was my first internship, and they do have a golf division. So he's the director of golf marketing. But they do also have clients in NIL, MLB, NBA, NFL. So
Okay.
um, yeah, that was pretty eye opening. You know, my first internship, didn't really know what the sports industry could entail.
Hmm.
So being able to be a part of that was awesome, and I got that through SBA at a career fair. So I was working with them, and I at the career fair, that same career fair, I got a job with the Arizona Cardinals with their flight deck team. So that was my junior year, and those were my two very first sports experiences.
Yeah, so yeah, and especially early on in a career, seems like very influential to have. And then you did something with the Super Bowl, right? You were in the experience
Yep.
or something. So what was that like? How'd you get down that road? Who'd you have to know? Did you have to interview? Kind of run us
Yeah.
through that.
So I'm forever grateful for the Cardinals because the Cardinals are the ones that gave me that opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. So I did guest services for the Super Bowl day of, but the days leading up, I worked as a Super Bowl experience area manager in downtown Phoenix at the convention center.
Mhm.
So for 2-ish weeks, I was on the third floor, kind of managing 20 to 30 people with some of their activations like the flag football clinic, the field goal kick, like for the little kids, and the locker room, which is where they can put on the helmet, the jersey,
Yep.
take a picture, and put a sticker on the giant football that we had. So that was a really cool experience. But yeah, I'm forever grateful for the Cardinals because I've never been to a Super Bowl, and it was really cool that my senior year, the Super Bowl was in Arizona where the Cardinals played. And when my boss told me, he's like, "Do you want to help out in the Super Bowl?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Yep.
100%.
I'm
What
in.
I'll do anything. Yeah, what do you need me to do?" So being able to go to a Super Bowl, see Rihanna, see all the people that were there, just it was a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
And, thanks to sports, I was able to be a part of it.
Right. Yeah. Sports is good at doing that specifically. And then, so you still with the Mercury, Phoenix Mercury, you still kind of doing the game stuff there? It seems like that's
Yes.
their
Yeah.
season's
So
coming.
right now I'm doing game day presentation with the Mercury and working remotely with Air. So that's what I'm doing right now. So with the Mercury, my contact, so Rachel Feldberg, she's the coordinator for the Sun/Mercury for game presentation. I
Mhm.
met her through SBA at a panel that we did, and I was the moderator, and we were able to chat it up a little bit, and that was back in January. And she knew that I was working with the Coyotes and game entertainment there. And when this spot opened up for the Mercury, she was like, "Hey, you should fly." I'm like, "Okay, great." So I applied, got an interview, got the job, and now I work just game days for the
Okay.
Mercury. Their opener for week one, where they introduced Brittany Griner and welcomed her home, was a great experience for
Yeah.
me. Seeing that was awesome. It was very emotional. It was sold out, and it was a great time.
Yeah, it was packed house there. Well, first of all, it seems like everyone should somehow get connected to this SBA organization because it sounds like they just pump out connections and career opportunities. So
It
if you're
yeah
going to the ASU, if you're going to ASU and you want to be in sports, it sounds like the SBA is something you should not think twice about. So what I'm
yeah
gathering.
for sure. It's a necessity if you want to get into sports. You can't do it alone with just your major.
Mhm.
And based on, my experiences themselves, once you have that one internship, that one job, that just snowballs into new experiences, right? So,
Yep.
the Cardinals led to the Super Bowl, and then the Coyotes and SBA led to the Mercury. So all these experiences and all these people that I've met, it kind of just comes into one, and now I'm here.
Yeah. No, it sounds like it. So it sounds like you've kind of been, the golf, I guess, NIL with the football, NHL, WNBA, and whatnot. So is there, I guess, a specific, sector, whether it's NFL, NBA, NHL, that you're more interested, NBA, or is it just kind of just
Oh
gathering
man.
experience and just seeing kind of where you land?
Yeah, that's tough. What I will say with the NFL, NBA, and NHL, their fan bases and the WNBA, their fan bases are completely different. Like when
Mhm.
I was interning with the Coyotes, I never been to an NHL game before, and seeing that fan base in such a small arena with 5,000 seats
Yeah.
was a crazy experience. Like when they played the Boston Bruins, when the Coyotes played the Boston Bruins and won, there I couldn't tell you how many fights there were. Like I saw 3 or 4 fights in the main pavilion, and it was crazy. Some dude got his thumb bitten off. Like that's
Yeah,
how
those
crazy
hockey
they.
guys, yeah,
Yeah,
those hockey people do not mess around. That's
yeah,
from what
they do
from what I
not
know.
mess around.
You know.
You're right about that. But that fan base is insane.
Yeah, and especially in that small arena, because I think I don't know my Arizona history correctly, but they applied for the thing in Tempe, right? Like the hockey facility, and that got struck down. So now they're stuck in that
Yes.
arena for another 2 years or something like that.
Yeah, so that didn't pass. So
Right.
I don't know where they're going to end up in 2 years, but they are in Mullet Arena for
Mhm.
the next 2 years at least. So this past year was their first season in Mullet,
Right.
and they shared that arena with the Arizona State hockey team.
Yeah.
So uh, being able to be part of that season was really special.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. And I don't know if you have many thoughts on this, but do you think the Coyotes will stay in Arizona if they have to continue to play at that small arena and they can't get a bigger one built?
Oh man, I really hope they do. I being part of them for this past season was amazing, and I love that fan base, and I love the team. But I guess we'll see. I've
Yeah.
heard talks that they're going to be moving to Texas or Kansas City. Like
Right.
I really don't know.
Yeah,
So
well, yeah,
guess
it's
we'll find
crazy to
out.
think about. Yeah, especially when Arizona, it's the mega center. It has so many professional sports teams. Like it's just crazy that they have this many, And I feel like it's a
Yeah,
smaller market, people say, but when it's got all the major sports, it's like, how is it a small market?
Arizona is crazy. If you're into sports, it's a great place to be in because you have the Diamondbacks, you have the Cardinals, the Coyotes, the Suns, and the Mercury. It's kind of like pick your poison, right?
Right.
And that's what, allowed me to do all these things, like the Super Bowl being in Arizona. I mean, now Final Four is going to be
Yep.
in Glendale uh, in less than a year. I mean, waste management every year,
Yeah.
like all of these, it's like a mecca for sports.
Yeah.
And it's been a big reason why I'm able to do all the things I'm able to do.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. So yeah, and I don't know. From being from San Diego, it's tough because we have one sports team and then we have one team that stabbed us in the back and went to LA. So it's unfortunate, but it's nice to kind of be in an area where they have all the major sports. So it kind of,
Yeah.
show city how it's done. But regarding kind of your role and your daily activity and whatnot, is there a certain kind of routine you go through, or is it just kind of you make a checklist for the day and get things done? What does your routine look like in that aspect?
Oh man. So my work week changes I mean, my day changes every day.
Right.
So um I'm I'm doing so with Air. One day they'll ask me to do social media partnerships. They're like really hit this hard. I and then the next day they're like, we need you to do some research on so and so's platform and see what's working and how it can benefit our brand. And then the next day I could be at an AAU event trying to drive downloads towards the app. So it
Yeah,
really changes every day. But I like that. It allows me to, practice being flexible and adaptable. So
definitely.
it really changes every day. But that's one of the things I like about working remote.
Yeah, well, and I guess in sports in general, I mean, you know this too, is you worked in the 4 or 5 major sports groups. Have you seen some similarities in I guess working at different organizations that are kind of the same, or have you seen some also differences where NHL does a different way than NFL and NBA?
What I will say is that everything's like interconnected.
Hmm.
So when I was working with the Coyotes, I made a friend. His name's Aaron, and him and I did game entertainment for the Coyotes this past season. Then we both got the gig with the Phoenix Mercury doing game presentation. So I know them.
Gotcha.
Like I said with Rachel before, there she's the coordinator for the Sun/Mercury. I met her through SBA. My ironically, my professor for one of my strategic communications classes was Vince Kozar, and he's the president of the WN or president of the Mercury. So I like how interconnected it is. You can't. I mean, if I go to the Cardinals and be like, yeah, I hung out with Aaron yesterday. And they're like, oh, Aaron, oh, I know him from Diamondbacks. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So everything's interconnected.
Yeah, and I will say that's one thing about kind of the sports industry. If, as you've been saying, it's very connected, and I feel like it gets smaller and smaller as kind of the more people you meet, right? Everyone knows someone from somewhere, and I forget what the saying is, like the 3 degrees to something. It's like you're 3 people away from knowing. I mean, you know what that is? Something like
I
that.
yeah, I don't know.
It's
I don't
like
know for
it's like
sure.
yeah, I'll have to look it up. But
Yeah,
the concept is basically like I know Johnny, Johnny knows Mike, and Mike knows Devin Booker.
yeah,
That's the concept. But
yeah,
especially within sports, it's like building the relationships, building the connections, and people you know. It's a little more than like networking. I feel like networking gets a bad rap, but it's because that's just like
yeah,
transactional, But as we've
yeah,
been
for
touching on,
sure.
it's building the relationships, making it more than a mentor. It's more like a friendship relationship type thing as you go in your
Yeah.
career, as we've been talking about. So, as your days evolve and change and whatnot, are there certain I guess books or sports business journal or something like that, or Twitter? Like, how do you stay informed? With the sports world.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. My junior year, my marketing class, one of my marketing classes, my professor Daniel McIntosh, he's a professor at ASU, and he told us day one, he was like, if you're going to be in this industry, you better be an expert in it.
Hmm.
And uh, we were like, what does that mean? So he was like, stay informed. Read SBJ or The Athletic or Twitter every day to see what's going on in sports because when you're networking at a happy hour or something, you want to be able to have some talking points where people are like, oh, okay, he's pretty sharp, you
Yep.
know? So he told us that day one, and I really took that to heart. And right after that, I got a subscription to SBJ, and and The Athletic, and that's what I usually read up on in regards to sports stories.
Mhm.
Um, but like just casually, definitely Twitter. I definitely follow like all the like Bleacher Report, you
Right,
know,
right. All the main kind of
Hoop
sports plugs
Central,
and
Hoop
whatnot.
Type.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I usually stay informed with, but definitely Twitter.
No, yeah, for sure. And shout out Professor McIntosh. I had him in grad school for an analytics class, and
Oh yeah.
it was not easy. I'll just leave it that it was something. I don't know if you took that class, but it was wild.
Dude, I got a lot of respect for you because I took sports business analytics, and that was easily one of the toughest classes.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah,
was it was brutal. I'm not, I can do Excel, but they took it to a whole different level,
yeah.
and
It's a
that
little
was
more than
definitely
equals sum. It's a little more
yeah,
inputs than that building that stuff.
yeah,
But yeah, that's for those that are interested in going to the sports law and business program at ASU. That is a required class. So
yeah. That's what you get to look
yeah,
forward
yeah,
to.
lock in on your Excel spreadsheets
Yeah.
and all those things like that. So as you're going forward in your career, are you looking at getting other like licenses or certifications or like anything like that?
No, I mean, all I got is my bachelor's degree right now, and I don't plan on going back to school anytime soon. If I need to eventually get my MBA, I will.
Hmm.
But right now, I mean, I'm looking to work.
Right.
I'm working with the Fiesta Bowl. I should have mentioned this earlier, but a couple days ago, I got my first full-time role with the Fiesta Bowl. So I'll be a seasonal associate with them starting in September, and
Okay.
I'll be able to go to the Guaranteed Rate Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl, and be a part of the parade, which falls on my birthday, ironically,
Look
on
at
December
that.
16th. So really looking forward to that. It'll be my first full-time role in sports. So, um, but yeah, back to your question, I don't have any certifications, and I had a sports business professional tell me once, like, he'll take experience over GPA any day of the week.
Yep,
So
yep. No, yeah, for sure. I feel like,
yeah,
unfortunately for all the GPA fanatics out there, not, it's important if you're trying to go to like law school, I guess, or like, secondary degree, I would say, you need that. But as far as like
yeah,
once you graduate, like I haven't applied to a job and they're like, hey, by the
yeah,
way, what's your GPA? Like, you know,
yeah.
it's just not super relevant. But kind of regarding some of the jobs you've gotten, what's kind of the interview process been like? I know there's like everyone always says like have like 3 or 4 questions to ask. After kind of what's your thing when you go into those interviews, or if you can remember any like types of questions you asked or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, since I graduated, as I was looking for a full-time role, it was really tough. I had to stay persistent. I had to be a master of following up, and I really had to uh, convey what I bring to the table,
Mhm.
and being able to be a part of all those interviews allowed me to hone in that skill because I was not really good at the interview process when I first started out. I remember my first interview with the Cardinals. I was shaking, I was stuttering constantly. I had no sports experience at all. I was super nervous. And luckily, I still got the job. But
Mhm.
um, from there to where I am now is you wouldn't even recognize me.
Right.
So being able to practice the interview process is something that I'm thankful for.
Mhm.
It was really strenuous, but I'm happy that I finally got a full-time role, and it's only made me better
Right.
regarding like interviews.
Yeah, no, and I feel like that goes kind of under the radar there, but it takes the interviews are practice. Like you have to practice communicating, you have to practice kind of your responses, what you're going to say. It's not
For sure.
like winging it is just not a good idea. They
Yeah.
can tell if you're just like making stuff up and
Yeah.
going there with a few. You don't have to like memorize your answers, but have a general idea.
Yeah.
I feel like then it makes you a little bit more comfortable and you're not like so nervous.
Yeah.
And then I think that's important kind of when you're in those job interviews, and it just takes practice, like we're saying. So practice, practice, practice. And
For sure.
like with the live bullets, like you might, do 5, 10, whatever actual interviews, you don't get the job, but you
Yeah.
had all those practices and game reps essentially. for
Yeah, definitely.
the big one comes
That's
in.
all it is, getting reps,
Hmm.
And what my mentor told me and what really helped me grow my interview skills is he said, write down three things that you want them to remember
Mm,
about you.
right.
And just being able to write those things down really helped me hone in on what I wanted to focus on. And I think that went a really long way in the interview process and the reason why I'm in this position today.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's something our viewers and listeners can take for themselves as they're going forward. But just
Yeah.
wrapping up here, Johnny, as Locke and I will give you the floor. We appreciate you taking the time and sharing some of your thoughts and insight on the sports industry and whatnot. But we'll give you kind of the next minute or two and give you the floor, and you can make any shout outs or plugs that you need to, and kind of for the viewers and listeners out there.
um, yeah, I mean, I know it's hard, the sports industry, just getting into it, and not a lot of people do it for the money. I learned that very early on,
Mhm.
and you gotta be able to work. And having said that, I'm really thankful for what the sports industry has given me. Um, you know, I love the things that I do. And in the past year, I met Russell Wilson. I've met the CMO of the NFL. I've been to a Super Bowl. I've seen a number of NBA playoff games where the NBA champs played the Suns. So um, without ASU, the clubs I was a part of, and the people I met along the way, none of these experiences would have been possible for
Yeah,
me. So definitely, like, the things I've been able to do in such a short amount of time, super thankful for that, and I'm thankful for everyone that like helped me along the way. But just for, like, I guess, advice for kids that are incoming freshmen or just undergrads in college, like, you got to be able to work,
yeah,
beat out whoever you're competing with. I think you got to have strong communication skills, and the ability, to talk to anybody and build a relationship with them will go a long way. Even if you're not a people person, like, you got to learn that skill. And then persistence, not everything comes all at once. And I would just say, like, you get out what you put in. So I think if you remember those things, you'll be able to get a long way in sports, and the work definitely pays off.
definitely. Yeah, wise words there. I appreciate that, and thanks everybody for listening and watching. And this has been another episode of the Constant Sports Podcast. And they say it's all about who you know. And today you met Johnny Torres. So thanks again, and stay tuned for more episodes.
Thanks for having me, Connor.
Yep, we'll see you.